The minutes from the last meeting, which was January 11th of this year, and you all should have received a copy from Stacy in an email, and I hope you've all had a chance to read it. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I move that we adopt the minutes for the last meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Next, we have the department reports.
Thank you, Ms. Kennison. Before we get started, I would like to thank, we've got two members going off the commission, Mr. Brown and Mr. Whedon. Yeah, that's an echo. Want to thank you for your service. I'm not sure that we'll meet before the September when the new come on. But I want to thank both of y'all for sure for coming in. Mark is eligible for a renewal. I'm not sure if he will or not, but want to appreciate y'all service to the city. I wanted to start off with just the budget presentation that I presented to council in June. I want to let you know that these numbers and these projects and stuff are not set in stone yet as far as we are going through with revenues projections, and we may eliminate some of them, we may move some of them to different times. So I just want to give you what we gave City Council, just to keep it in mind until Council votes to approve the budget, that these may change. And so nothing is set in stone at this point. And please, if you have any questions during the presentations, please stop me and let me know as we go through it.
When is the final vote for this city council on the budget?
The last meeting in September.
September, okay.
Oh, okay, September the 13th?
Sometime in September
yes,
then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. As y'all are a little bit more aware of, as far as our organizational chart, we have myself, two admin assistants, the assistant director of Parks and Recreation, our park superintendent, our recreation manager, and then underneath those are different categories that we have: our community center, and then recreation, and on the park side, our park maintenance. Right now we're at 39 full-time employees and the Parks and Rec, and then the community center has 7 full-time employees.
A question: I noticed that the person that's in charge of the community center. I mean, I do business with the community center. In the past several times that I've gone there, they've changed heads of however you call them, the head of the in charge of the community center. Have you hired someone there?
Yes, Alex Buskin went on to another position in the city of Benbrook. Mandy Brown started about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Mandy
Brown?
Yes. She right now is currently officed over at my facility with the construction going on with the community center. Within the next 2 weeks or so, she will be back over at the community full-time, but the phones are moving over to our offices, and so if you call, that is there, and we do have a sign on that, you know, construction is going on, and to come over to the parks office if you need a rental.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Listen, here just our facilities. Just want to get a few highlights of this screen. The parkland mowing, we have 632 acres. It takes us about 550 man-hours per cycle, and we try to hit 20 to 22 cycles per year, just depending on weather and whether it's hot. We've gotten cold where the grass slows down, or spring one like it is this past, and we're doing 2 or 3 a week, it seems like. Non-parkland mowing, that'd be like your library, the Sign of 10 Friends, those different small areas that aren't considered parkland. We have almost 7.5 acres, just over 7.5 acres, about 90 man-hours per cycle. Right-of-way mowing, 521 acres. Which see there we try to hit between 10 and 12, just depends on, like, again, the conditions and getting around. Sometimes those are more difficult than others, but that's what our goals are. Flood buyout lots, we have 72, and we try to hit those 22 to 26 times a year. And then our herbicide spraying program is 74 miles. I will say that this year, along with the new city sweeping program that has gone, that has been tremendous success. I think that we haven't been back out to the mall area to do a full, thorough, like we did before Thanksgiving, where we were weed eating and blowing. We haven't done that since Thanksgiving. And so those two programs combined with each other have really made a difference, in my opinion. In 2017, our recreation special events, we have 3 seasons of spring, summer, fall with softball and kickball. We'll let you know that as of right now, we are up 45 teams from last year in our softball and kickball program. So that's just in spring and summer, fall still to come. And so we're excited about that. That's a lot of growth in those programs. So we also offer a youth softball league. And then we are partnering with the ISD next year to do a 6th grade flag football league. And that will be ran through the middle schools. Their middle school coaches will be doing that. The details are still being ironed out, but that's something we're going to be partnering with them on to try to help them with. The 6th graders have a pre-athletic period. It's called pre-athletics. And so that'll be a unit class that they'll teach in there, and they'll do the skills of flag football. And we're hoping that eventually translates into some other activities and expansion of youth flag football and different youth sports. Of course, our recreation events is the 4th of July fireworks. We do around 6 movies in the park, our Christmas parade, 5 to 7 street dances, and a kayak clinic. We'll let you look at that picture right there of the splash pad. That is the new splash pad over at the youth sports complex or the community center park. Tremendous reception for that. There have been a lot of kids on there. I haven't gone a day that I haven't seen a ton of kids, and seeing different Facebook posts of just friends of friends that happens to show up, and it's a picture of that ball dropping water on them. And so very well received area, and really like it.
I know that there had been a grand opening scheduled, and there was the weather delays on the landscaping and stuff. Is that kind of just scrapped at this point, or?
Yeah, we didn't want to wait to we were trying to get the project open by June 1st, and so we didn't want to wait to delay that just because of the weather, and so we just went ahead and opened.
Okay.
And so instead of doing a ribbon cutting or anything, open the facility and let the kids use it.
Sure.
That was my question.
It's still open.
Can we go back to the flag football?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the fact that pre-athletics, because, is that flag football, that's going to be co-ed?
We're still working. I'm still working with the athletic director to line all those details out as far as what that is. Now, I know the pre-athletic periods, because my son was in it last year, the pre-athletics are divided up male-female, and so the female coaches will work with their girls on those different things.
No, because I'm the one who instituted that program.
Oh, okay.
Pre-athletics, and
Yeah.
I was just wondering, because, the pre-athletic program is basically designated to develop the skills of the young athletes coming up, because they can participate in the UIL contest until they're in the 7th grade. So basically the pre-athletic is geared to, get the kids prepared for the 7th grade. They do the high school programs as far as skills and drills. So I'm just wondering, because the girls, they go into volleyball while the boys are doing football. And when basketball starts, they both do basketball. And when the track season comes along, they do just the off-season program.
Right. Yeah, and we talked with, I met with the new athletic director, and we talked to both high school coaches as far as the football coaches. They were real excited about this program, and we are looking at possibly expanding it later on, but it gave them a thing. So I don't have all the details out. We're still in meetings as far as figuring, all the logistics of it out, but both coaches of the high schools were really excited about it.
What I'm hearing is that the junior high coaches will be the coaches for the flag football.
They will.
They will.
Yes, sir.
And during game times, they will be coaching them?
During the flag football games, yes.
Okay, because they have games on Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, and the way that we're setting it up, Mr. Rivera, I don't have all the details to explain every bit of it. We're finalizing those on it, and so I don't want to come out here and say yes, and the athletic director say, well, we're going to do it a little bit different way. And so we're partnering with them. They will be more of the lead on how they institute the program and what their coaches do and when those game times are. So I don't have all those details for you, but I will shortly. Does that help you out there?
Well, I don't know what the pre-athletic is all about. And
yeah.
I just, seeing that, because practice time is very limited because they practice on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and then Fridays limited on practice, so Mondays and Tuesdays. See, Monday's the seventh grade play, and on Tuesday, the eighth graders play, so basically, you got Monday and Tuesday games. Wednesday, there's no activities going on as far as games, and then Thursday's the sub-varsity, and then Friday's the varsity. So, you've got to look into when you're gonna play those football games.
And I think the school district is going to set that, not us.
Okay.
Go into our budget for this year. On the left-hand column, you will see this current budget, and the right-hand column, you'll see the proposed budget. Personnel, we're dropping down just a little bit, $9,500. Our maintenance operation is staying flat, just a $2,000 or basically $1,900 increase. A capital, you're seeing a $1.4 million, basically almost $1.5 million. That is the building for the Parks and Rec building, and so that's where you're seeing that big drop. We put that in the line item in capital for last year just so that we could make sure it got tracked. And so overall, we're down, $2,000 basically from last year's numbers. And I'll go into a little bit of those projects and stuff later on.
Is the building on hold, Kobe?
No, sir, it's not.
It's not.
No, sir. We're working right now to get a contract ready for council to approve. These will be our one-time expenses, and once again, on the 2016, that number's high because that is the building in there. I want to let you know that these projects may change. This stuff may change depending on what revenues come back and what council finally decides to do. So just so that because you see this in here, until that budget is finalized and approved by council, these projects may go or change. So I just want you to know that going into it. This year is what I consider an equipment year. If you recall, my first year here, we had a large mowing package that we purchased, and we're doing that again to replace those mowers and to add to those mowers to try to become more efficient and hopefully every 3 years where we are turning those mowers over and buying new ones to keep the fleet up and moving and have little to no downtime. We're running those 8 to 9 hours a day. Sometimes last year we never stopped. We didn't stop during Christmas. It didn't ever get cold enough where the grass wasn't growing. So, and I'll answer any questions you have about any of those. We did one of the things that is changed, the control post. That used to be a reoccurring expense in our budget. We've moved that to a one-time expense because once we get those metal control posts throughout the park, then we won't have to replace. We won't have to put $20,000 in the budget every single year. It'll be a small maintenance fee for, replacing ones that get broke or anything to that nature.
Are the control posts, is that a Riverside issue or are they in the other parks?
They are in the other parks right now where our focus is to complete Riverside.
And without the control posts, people drive areas they shouldn't be in?
That's what we have found, is that if you don't have that in some way, people just start parking wherever they would like. Wherever they can. We have the issue of youth sports complex, trying to, there'd be a parking spot and they'll jump on the curb. So,
I was trying to remember what so we've replaced wood with metal, and then there was that area coming down from the Rose Garden. Were we going to do that naturally, or is that control post too?
Right now, we'll probably leave it there. I mean, I don't know that there's been a firm decision one way or the other. We haven't had an issue with people parking or driving back through there, and so we'll take that, as we move forward. I can't say that the decision's been made, but that it won't come to that point. But right now, we're not having an issue.
For the handball court demo, is something else going to go there? Is that at Ted B. Reed Park?
Yes, and we'll look at the possibility of maybe putting a basketball goal or something of that nature. Just depends on what the construction does. I don't know if the walls are tied into the slab, if we're going to have to break the slab apart to get the walls down or not. And so we'll just have to wait till the contractor gets back to see what's done there as far as if I'm going to do more damage, by
For lack of use, the demo?
Yes. Any questions? The community center, we are also running fairly flat on there. If you look at the major, the red there, that is the construction of the new part of the project that's going on right now, the remodel the different areas in the community center. And so, you know, personnel, we're up a little bit. We've made some adjustments as far as my recreation manager is now over that facility as well. We do have a community center event coordinator, but she has, our recreation manager, Jamie Heibel, is over her, and some of that salary just shifted over to her. Maintenance operation, we're very flat. Capital, like I said, is our building, and so we are running as thin as we can as far as trying to stay flat with last year's numbers. Sports tourism, this is an area that we do use hotel motel funds. This past year, we were awarded $75,000 or given $75,000. We had 8 scheduled youth flash pitch tournaments. And this was data as of June, the end of June. We were at 1,578 rooms. That does not include the national tournament that we had July 4th, or we've got a swim meet coming up this weekend, and so those numbers will increase. But that was as of that time, and we're just under 5,000, visitors to our park at the ball fields. And so what we do with that is we do like a bow net or a bucket of softballs or what may that to try to help entice those teams to come. And when we do that, we have cards that we have the teams fill out, the coaches, when they come to register. They fill out those cards. It tells us, where did they stay, what was their room block, where were they coming from. Once they fill those cards out, we'll give them whatever that promotion is at that time. And so it's been a very good tool for us to be able to get a good number of what our numbers are doing and what, how many hotel rooms we're bringing in.
What do we do with this regional swim meet?
The regional swim meet is coming up this weekend
Where?
at the Victoria ISD pool.
Okay, because I was wondering if
So that's like just a combined effort of the city and,
Yeah, we are partnering with the summer swim program, which is Wahoo. I don't know if it's affiliated with the schools or not, so I don't want to speak on that part, but
Right.
we're working with them. They are an affiliate member under our TAF membership, and so with that, the Texas Amateur Athletic Federation, and so with that, we went to bring those two. We'll host it this year and next year, and so we went to the regional meetings to bring those two meets here
gotcha. Okay,
what's the date on that?
this weekend.
This weekend,
This
16th and 17th.
Wow.
Yeah, I think there is, from when I talked to Coach Meese, there's 728 roughly swimmers this weekend. So it'll be a good meet, real good meet.
Big meet, huh?
It will be.
Is it just several teams that's coming that they've put together, or?
Yeah, the TAF swim is a recreational swim a team, and so like we'll have several teams out of Corpus Christi, and we're in Region 16 and TAF, and so all of our kids from the region will come to this meet, and then those kids that are in the top 3, I think, get to qualify for state, which is in McAllen at the end of July.
Is this that same organization that has, I remember when my kids were swimming, they went to Waco and Lubbock.
Exactly.
That same.
Exact
Okay.
same thing.
Yeah. Same, yeah.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
pools around here have teams.
Yes,
Okay,
and
right.
we have Victoria has a team, which is the Wahoo, and then you have Quail Creek and you have Yoakum and several different, we have circuit meets throughout the year, and then those teams come together for regionals under one flag. In 2017, we'll still look at the youth fast pitch tournaments, 8 of them. We are trying to add 4 to 6 youth baseball tournaments. We're in talks with a couple of different organizations to see which one's going to work out here, but that's what we're shooting for. And of course, then we'll do the TAF Region Swim Meet as well. The big number of going up from that 75 to just over 100,000 is we are purchasing temporary fencing to put at our adult complex, so that instead of being a 300-foot field, we can bring that into 200, which is the girls' size, without driving T-post into the ground and having that danger. So there'll be a PVC type of fence that we can put up real quickly and take down. And so it's a lot better for the girls if they do run into it, they're not hitting a PVC or a T-post. So, any questions on that part? And that's our budget presentation for this past year.
So, how's the new baseball field holding up?
Doing great, outstanding. My park superintendent has gotten on a great fertilization plan. The other day I was watching it online, and I didn't catch it. I was watching on the news, and I couldn't tell where the grass started and the turf, or the turf ended and the grass started. Haven't had anything but high compliments on that facility. Holding up just fine. I haven't seen any wear marks that I'm concerned about. We will, the manufacturer will come down after a year, during that year, our year anniversary, take a look through and see if there's any areas, but haven't had an issue one with it.
Since we're in the Riverside Stadium, is there any plans in the future to do some repairs or any, because, I'm a fanatic about baseball, so I attend a lot of baseball games, and like I mentioned before, that when you sit down in those chairs, they kind of tilt to one side.
Yeah, I mean, there's not money in this year's budget. We are putting together a 5-year plan as far as what items are needed out there and what we can do, and it's just a matter of when those could be able to get funded. If it's an immediate, something of the nature that you see, seat A on row 6 or whatever that may be, if you'll let us know, then we can go take a look at those.
And I always sit right behind the pitcher, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was inquiring because I went to a Generals game last week, and the field did look good.
Yes.
Even the outfield, and like you say, you can't hardly see a transition from, but I was just curious how the new turf, has there been any hitches or?
Now, we had 2 rainouts this year, and they were due. One of them was due to the Corpus team not wanting to travel during the weather, and then one of them, the outfield got too wet that it rained 6 inches, and there was nothing that we could do. But the infield would have been playable. So.
Tell me again what you said to James earlier about the building. The building's in or out, or what's the deal with the building?
The building is moving forward. We're working with the.
It's just out of the budget we've got it budgeted, we covered it.
Yeah, it's already encumbered, and so I say that once we have the approved document from council, then it will become encumbered. It won't start construction until after the budget year is, I would imagine, after the budget year is started, but it will be encumbered, so those funds are already there.
Where will it be located?
As you're coming into the park, it will be on the right-hand side, that first set of ball fields, the practice fields, they're old Little League fields. I'm not sure what the names of them were, but
Elder and San Laban
Elder and San
and the other one. I can't remember. My kids played there.
but that's
Yeah.
where they'll be. So,
Across from the kids' park.
yes, right across the
Children's
street.
Park.
Going back to
Okay.
ancient history.
Did we have any new damage or significant damage from the recent sort of kind of flood?
No, we had
Sorta.
one spot over at the trail that over by Grover's Bend, the granite trail that it just mud clapped on it, and we had to recondition. We'll put a little bit more out there. Other than that, just caught us behind on mowing for 2 months, it seems like. But
That's good then.
sure,
Okay.
sure.
Colby, what's going to happen to the old building? Is it going to come down or be used for maintenance?
Well, I don't think the decision's been made yet. I'm hoping that we keep some of it, but I don't know that, we will demo at least the part that I'm officed in. I don't know when that will come, but that we'll demo, and I'm hoping to keep the metal building part as storage, but, no funds have been set aside for either one of those projects at this time.
Will maintenance still stay over there?
No, maintenance will move to the new
It's going to
building.
move to?
Yes, the entire facility, the entire group will move to the new facility. Thank y'all very much.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
No more questions?
I would like to commend the Parks Department on the progress of the Fox's Bend Disc Golf Course. It's looking really great out there.
Yeah, we just
We're-
gotta get the poles in. We'll get them.
The poles they're there. The
Oh, Monty
baskets-
already did it. Okay, okay.
Yeah, it was just missing one last
Yep.
week, so I just had a couple items to go over with you later to finish it up, and it's looking really good.
Thank you.
Go back to your control post. Has anybody tested one yet?
Yes, we have.
The control post one?
They both lost.
I'll be glad when those in, because I have seen people still finding their way into picnic tables with vehicles.
Sure, sure. Yeah, there's over 7,000 of them, so we'll get,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll take its time.
right.
Do we have a city ordinance that regulates against parking on the grass? I've been in Corpus, and at Cole Park, they've got signs up that says, no parking on the grass, even no dropping cigarette butts, and then they quote a city ordinance.
Yeah, there's signs as you go into the park. If you go to the community center park, there's a sign right there. I got at 4th of July, I had a guy come up and said, you can't park there. Well, and I explained there was a sign, and so it's just a matter of keep conditioning, and I think the control post will help out a lot of that. The wooden ones you were able to move with your bumper, but these you won't. So.
Anything else? All right, then let's move to items from commissioners. And under that, we have possibly information on the dog park.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we've talked repeatedly about this dog park and trying to making that our sort of pet project, for lack of a better word. We've had a couple of fundraisers, I know, and we've had a discussion at our last meeting about getting this ball rolling again. It was recommended that we have a sit-down discussion with Colby and the Director of Finance from the city to answer some basic questions of if we want to establish a group through fundraising, what would be the best way to go about it? And the general consensus of this meeting it would be best from a standpoint of just simplicity and financial accountability and everything, that is if we establish a fundraising entity similar to like what the library has, Friends of the Library, perhaps developing something similar to that as Friends of the Park, or just a name I'm conjuring up, but have a group that handles the fundraising for a particular project. You kind of adopt a project to see it through. It would make things much cleaner as far as handling fund money and this and that and the other, where people donate their money to, and account. We can set up a website and have special online donation capabilities, this, that, and the other. That's not so where the money doesn't get commingled with city funds. This has some promises, and it has some hitches for startup. To do this, we would be looking at probably having to achieve, to get a 501c3 status, you'd have to get a group of directors first. Mr. Keeling has a lot of knowledge on this, but it would afford us some flexibility. This group would operate separate from the commission, but have a report to the commission, so to speak, on progress and what projects are working on and this, that, and the other, but wouldn't be under direct, well, I don't know, say yes or no at this stage, but would have a certain degree of autonomy. So we can establish our fundraisers, fund them, have them go do as we please without having to clear everything, before. Like say, hypothetically, say you have a fundraiser, you need to have money for your fundraiser. So we've raised some money, so we need to spend some money on items for a fundraiser, and so that would be a much easier way to do it rather than trying to go back to the city and say, hey, we need some money for this project, and so it would just get very cluttered. Let me think. Colby, jump in if I'm missing something. But again, this is just a very rough outline. What I would like to do is get input from the commissioners, and if this is something that they would like to see happen, if this is something that we want to get behind, but establishing a separate organization, it would probably take a few months to get rolling. There's just no bones about it. To get everything Mr. Keeling says we would need, it would just take some time. You'd have to have some initial formation meetings. You'd have to have people who will be directors. There's paperwork and things to be sent off. There is money to be considered also. I know we have somewhere in the range, correct me if I'm wrong, Colby, but around $2,000 raised.
I'd have to check into that, Mr. Brown. I'm not exactly sure of the number.
In that ballpark, that might get us up and rolling. But again, we're looking at, and again, if I may quote Colby, these numbers we discussed, we've whittled this park down to somewhere in the 221 to 225-ish category. At one time, we did have funding pledged for a matching funds up to, I believe, 150,000. We'd like to re-verify if that is still on the table. So we will be looking at probably raising somewhere in the range of 110,000. To 120.
So we don't know if the initial offer of the grant is still a viable thing. We've not.
I'll let Ms. Garrett answer that. I think she's more.
I've talked to the foundation recently, and they seem to still be interested. I told her that y'all were still considering fundraising, so part of the conversation was because of the mechanism of earning money for that trust, you know, with the oil revenues down a little bit, it may take a little longer than what they originally thought, but I still think there's an interest there from that foundation, so.
The conversation y'all had, this extended to more than just the dog park. This would be an organization that could conceivably raise resources for other park-related matters as well, not, in other words, just a little bit broader.
Oh, yeah,
That's what
definitely, yeah, it wouldn't just be a one dog park thing and it goes away.
Yeah,
It would definitely be, I think it would be a good thing to do for the long term. I know Gail's big into the disc golf. And whether we would, you know, it would give us an avenue to raise funds for different expansions or projects or see things we'd like to see in the park or the public would like to see in the park. And would be a much cleaner way to go about it to say we get, you know, plans and cost projections and then meet it and say, okay, Colby, here you go. And then, you know, they can begin to get, you know, the project started. But we will be definitely working with, we would not be ignoring the commission or anything like that. We definitely have to work hand in hand with the commission and the parks director.
Would the entity be more or less autonomous though in terms of in other words, it could engage in its own, I mean, it's going to be given a charitable purpose that it can follow and do what it can, as long as it's working to raise funds, and it would probably qualify if that charitable purpose were to help fund, you know, the parks
They
projects.
take donations first, so we can have something to start. Start, like you said, online for donations and everything. Would you go with that to start?
Oh, yeah,
I
it
mean,
would
it
be.
would have that
Yeah.
capability.
Oh, yeah, we would definitely, that's where, say, establishing a separate entity would clean up a lot of issues where you're not commingling funds. Well, I say commingling, we'd have to go back to the city and go get it back
Yeah.
from the city and vice versa. And with, you know, websites and everything else, you can set up a dedicated deal. You can hit fundraisers, you can go set up events, you can go to every event imaginable.
Just to be clear, the creation of this 501(c)(3) to raise funds for parks projects is a recommendation by the city, right?
I was going to ask,
Yeah.
this is what the city would prefer how this be handled?
No, that's not correct. What we explained was the different mechanisms of way that this could be set up, is that if you wanted something, for instance, a Friends of the Park that was able to, you know, I remember one of my first meetings, Mr. Whedon asked about a bench being put in at DeLeon Plaza, and I told him it's 18 months out. This would be a way for that to be. Now, there is other ways for a trusting agency or different things to that nature, but what Mr. Brown's talking about is our finance department not being the bookkeepers for you guys coming and saying, I need $200 to go buy printing supplies or something to that nature. And so that's where Mr. Brown is speaking. This would give the commission or whoever's on that board a little bit more freedom to be able to go do things without following the specific city purchasing procedures. Now, we'd also, of course, we'd want final say of what bench went down or what style or what, you know, the minimums of those types of things. And we would still purchase that item, but it maybe y'all could write it, that the Friends could write a check to the city for the purchase of a large item or whatever that may be.
Okay,
The entity itself would largely be autonomous in terms of what it did, when it did it, what it raised money for. I mean, it's going to have that purpose. It all has to be related to that purpose. But then it could bring, it could come to this body or to the city, whichever, you know, however that worked, and say, hey, look, we've got X dollars that we'd like to contribute towards such and such project, and then it would be kind of from the city standpoint, I think it'd be more of like an acceptance type deal, right? I mean,
Yes, it would be a donation to the city for a bench at DeLeon Plaza, or
right. And
whatever.
you guys,
that may be.
if you wanted to spec out what it is you wanted, you could do that, or
Sure.
or you could that could be communicated earlier on, or something like
Correct.
that. But this entity wouldn't have to go to, I mean, it wouldn't have to go talk to anybody before it did anything. It could have meetings that weren't public meetings. It's a separate entity all its own. Nonprofit.
Best
corporation.
route to raise funds for the parks? Is this the best route?
I mean, I think it's a new route. I mean, it's a new.
I think like I said, like this Colby said, we discussed as far as with the city finance office about how this could possibly solve some, headaches and problems. But I do, in my opinion, again, I'm not a finance professional, but I do see it smoothing some bumps and hurdles. I think it would allow us to go gun-ho on a project. I mean, it's going to take a little time to get it rolling, but I think all in all, this would be our best long-term solution. I know take hypothetically, or the library group, they've been in existence for quite some time. And again, this is not just a one project item. I think it would be a great way to enhance all aspects of Riverside or any of the parks in the city. There are sure naturally some question marks still that would need to be, everybody would have to sit down who wanted to be a part of this deal and hammer out. But I think we have the people on the commission, or people that we all know who we could bring in, and we could have some, initial meetings and get this ball rolling. I think, I don't know how involved, if Mr. Keating would be involved, but he certainly has the knowledge to be a great help in the legal aspects of what we're trying to put together.
Let me ask the question again then. Does the city have any objection? Would the city have any objection to this path being pursued as it's been pretty much described here?
Yeah, you're my boss.
Path, a council would need to know what's going on, and so we just need to do a report if that's what you wish to do. The Friends of the Library works very well. They contribute a lot of money back to the library. They've done a lot of the renovations that have gone on in the library, so they've done a lot of work down there. So, but I mean, it sounds reasonable to me, but I think the best thing would be, if y'all make a decision you want to do that, let's do a report to council.
Okay, so 6 months, a year from now, when this is in works and stuff like that, and we can't predict, I realize, but there's no anticipation that there's going to be this brick wall at some point or anything.
Wouldn't think so. I think probably the biggest caveat will be is whatever the Friends decide to do, it's going to have approval, just like Colby said.
Certainly.
So
they can't go in and trim the trees and reconfigure the parks because they want to.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So, and probably follow some of the master planning projects that are out there. So.
Point your mic towards you.
Me?
Oh,
Lee.
What?
Oh, Lee.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
I think.
So we don't have the 501c3. So if someone wants to make a donation now, how does it work in terms of the city in the budget and being separated?
We set up a trust and agency account, and that whatever the donation is specifically designed for that item. So we recently set up a trust and agency accounts to try to raise money for a splash pad at the Lee Tracy Park, to seek out some foundations. So to try to do that, so we can have a splash pad on the north side of town. So so that's all we do is, and I suspect the money we raised, I'm looking at Kobe, has been set up in a trust and agency account. Yeah, so it's already separate right now for the dog park.
So someone right now could make a donation
Absolutely.
specifically to that trust and agency account for the dog park.
Yes, sir, they can.
I need to double check on that, because I think that went just into park donations.
Oh,
not-
did it?
not
Okay.
directly for
Trust and agency.
It was in a trust and agency, but the trust and agency was not labeled dog park. It was just park donations that we have the ability to use here or there, but we don't have one set up just for a dog park yet.
And that's easy to do.
So that's not a big leap in the interim if there's not this other
That's
entity.
correct. It's easy to do.
Yeah, that's why I was, with the proposal of this, you could direct your donations to a specific item or project or whatever. And again, all these projects, if this comes to fruition, everything would be all worked with the Parks Department before we start raising money, make sure we're all on the same page, everybody knows what's going on. So.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's not other parks that have Friends of the Parks, just like Friends of the Library throughout
City
Texas.
of Arlington has one.
Do what?
City of Arlington has one, and it works real well. They're able to they've been able to buy shade canopies, or whenever there was budget shortfalls with that we want to see a $200,000 playground, but we only have 175. They were able to do those extra things, or and so it works well for some other cities that, and it also gives that ability for, I'm 18 months out on anything new, and so those new ideas come in. Hey, we'd really like to, recover this playground or something to that nature in the immediate. It gives that funding mechanism to the commissioner, to the friends of the park to be able to do.
Sharmell, so if the entity is set up, the 501c3, and the money is raised, and they're willing to allocate it, is it a question of the city saying, or does city council have to agree with what the 501c3 wants to do?
It's probably going to depend on what the project is. I know with the Friends of the Library director goes to them and requests, different projects. And so it just depends on, if you're going to take a wall down at the library, then yeah, the council's probably going to have to approve it. But if it's just a matter of buying materials for a project, a program, so it's just handled that way.
And I assume if it's just a matter of having a fundraiser, an annual fundraiser event, they can just do that when they want to do that. I mean, whatever they raise is going to be, dedicated to the charitable purpose of contributing it to the parks in some fashion, and it'd be up to the city primarily just to accept whatever was offered. But I think what we would want would be a group that would operate pretty autonomously in terms of what it did. Because that's the idea, is to kind of get it away from the bureaucracy of that we have to kind of operate under here.
Well, and so far, there's not been, to my knowledge, any real objection from city council on the dog park issue, because we went in saying that we were going to raise the money and we weren't expecting the city to cover the cost of it. So essentially, the first and primary project of this, should it get established, is already kind of been approved. So, and we've already got plans and things like that, and I don't anticipate those being ignored,
right,
and scrapped for something entirely new. So, yeah. Future stuff, I could see maybe when Colby has new wants on his want list or something like that, once the dog park is done, then maybe the Friends of the Parks could look at his wish list and say, well, let's tackle this item, and, something that he might be wanting that may have to wait or whatever, and, yeah.
Is the $200,000 for the basic, or given our economy, could you scale it back, or you wouldn't get anything for $100,000?
Weird. Go ahead, Mr. Brown. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Colby.
What we did on that is an estimate by a landscape architect, and that is, he came back with, we didn't tell him build this for this dollar figure. We showed him an area, and he gave us estimates, and so, that is what, when I got those estimates, and he gave us the Taj Mahal, of it's going to be a great complex and just all the bells and whistles. Well, when he did that, he broke down those prices, and he broke down the different areas of what those were. And so that was what I came back and looked at. Okay, here's the things that we don't need. Here's the minimums that we need. And that dog park, that the 225, by all means, is still an estimate, but that is what I feel like is the minimum that we need to put up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's essentially, that's half of what the original, again, as Colby said, it was Taj Mahal. It was the full, everything you could throw at it, and but once we look at that, and holy mackerel, Colby and staff went over it and whittled it down considerably, and I think Christmas or so, I think Gail, Lauren, myself, and Ashway got together and went over that again, thinking like that's still too much. But you start going down item by item by item, and you don't, it adds up. You think, it's just a dog park, what? But yeah, it definitely adds up. There's a lot of feet of fencing, there's concrete involved, there's irrigation and plumbing, and you just, by the time you sit back and weigh it all out, and there is some small contingency allowed in here for fluctuations of prices.
I think one of the areas that we sort of trimmed a little bit was like the landscaping and stuff, bringing in more trees and, starting with what we had over there already and not necessarily spending a lot on landscaping.
When I say, 220, I still feel, wow, that's a lot for a dog park. But at the same time, we've gone over it and over it and over it. And once you start doing the numbers and adding things up, it adds up quick. Adds up quick. It will be a nice facility, but there's just not a lot of fat left,
Good.
if any, really.
Got several questions. Number one, we've been on this issue for the dog park for a while now. Do we have a timeline to set, we're gonna do this project, and this is the target date? We either do it or just drop the issue on the dog park. My second question is, have we done some research or some, going out to San Marcos and Austin, where they do have the dog parks, and kind of inquire as to how they raised the money or who funded the project?
I haven't personally gone and talked to any other groups. That would be a good idea to do. I definitely would like to explore that avenue for all possible fundraising avenues. I don't know in the such situations whether they were privately funded and then the money given to the city like we're proposing to do, or if they were all city funded. I haven't actually gone through that.
Well, I wouldn't mind
exploration.
taking a trip to San Marcos or Austin and then talk to the people that raised the money or how they acquired the money for the dog park. Because like I said, we've been there some, now going on 2 years, a year and a half?
Probably longer than that.
Longer than that?
Maybe.
So that's my question, is that we need a timeline, because, people that initiated this probably forgot about the dog park by now.
Well, I agree with you, and I'd love to go put the dog park back on the radar. But until we can sit down and establish exactly how we're going to go about fundraising the money, then could we even begin probably to remotely discuss a timeline? But I couldn't even begin to a timeline, because as again, if we're able to assemble this organization, and you're still a few months down the road, hopefully not, but the sooner the better. But then you could be looking at 2 years.
What kind of fees are associated?
Maybe less, but again, it's just going to depend. You could run into a lucrative fundraising project, some generous donations, but you just can't go in and automatically assume that's going to happen. You want to. It's going to be a constant effort. I can't say that I'm going to have. It's just impossible to say how fast can you come up with $110,000.
Are there fees associated with establishing the nonprofit?
There are, but they're not, we can get past that.
Okay. And then how long does it take to establish? What kind of?
It's gonna take, 90 days is probably a good time frame. To get but the interest, the good thing about that is as you mentioned, James, you don't necessarily have to stop any efforts that if people want to donate, they can go ahead and donate to the city. The city can accept those and apply them, or the city might choose to contribute them back to the organization, I suppose. Be up to them. But you don't need to. This would be kind of different than an informative 501c3 from ground up. You don't really get anybody to give you any money until you get your letter back. But I think we could have a letter back inside of 90 days.
I'd be if we can, if we can be actually out beating the bushes within 4 to 5 months, I'd be thrilled.
We need 3 names. That's really all we really need if we want to go that path. We can get started.
Okay. Well,
I've got something for Mr. Revere. Actually, I've done a little research on dog parks and came up with one in Corpus that they're trying to build on Ocean Drive. And it seems like it's a 501(c), but they're looking at putting a private dog park. Like you have to pay membership fees to enter the park and use the park. But they have a website up, and they're receiving donations to build that park. Right now, it's all tentative. I don't think they broke ground yet, but that is one dog park. That's the only dog park that I've seen that is like a membership-based dog park. All the rest of the ones that I've heard about are free to the public.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting concept, a 4-fee dog park,
Membership.
Yeah.
Country club dog.
country club dog park, that's right.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to see this it's just something I'd like to see in the park. I think it will be received well. I just don't want it to die on the vine. But this will take a commitment from everybody, anybody who wants to be involved. It's not going to just magically fall out of the air. And they'll take effort from people if we form this commission, there'll be financial accounting and regular documentation of meetings and minutes and all these type of items that have to be suspended, a return every year. So we have to have some things to keep track of. Definitely how we're going to, what type of fundraisers we like to have, how we're going to go about doing it, get ideas, and but establishing this group first and getting our 501 in place so we can begin soliciting donations is, I guess, our first big hurdle. And at this time, I don't know if they would then necessarily need a recommendation from the Parks Commission to do this, or get at least a vote or a blessing.
I think that if it's something the commission wants to pursue, I think that we would give a report to the city council to let them know that the route which is being taken, because the council had, the commission had stated to council that that this body was wanting to try to raise funds for it. I think it's just a simple report of going and letting them know what the route that is. Is that correct, Shona? Yeah, that's not that's a Ms. Kennison or one of you coming up. It's, citizens communication. Very simple.
Would the nonprofit be an extension of this commission, or will it be separate?
Separate.
Not just totally. I don't see why this commission would, or this group would definitely, hey, we'll come to the commission meetings and give a report of what's going on. It's not going to be just a total, in my opinion, a total isolation. We're definitely, and we're going to be working with the Parks Department definitely on what are you working on? Here's what we'd like to see. How, what do we need to be all in, square with the parks, and what we're going to raise money for. And so, definitely we'll be working closely with Parks Department and stuff. But we don't, as far as how we raise the money and everything else, that will be sort of our thing. We don't have to go back to the commission and say, hey, we're going to do this fundraiser, we're going to do this fundraiser, we're just going to jump in and go. But I have no problem reporting to the commission and telling them what's going on, what we've been up to. But as far as basic, decisions and things like that, they'll be handled within the organization.
Shamil, I'm trying to remember. I was thinking when we did when the council dedicated the land to Miss DeLeon for the memorial, isn't that what she did? Set up a 501(c)(3)? Is that correct?
She did, yeah. The DeLeon family's doing the raising for them. So.
I think that'd be an appropriate vehicle for us to move forward.
Anybody have any other opinions? And Kelby, I guess if we need to make kind of a vote where you could make a recommendation to the city at council, or do we need to go and present that to council? Or?
I would think that if we have a direction from it, unanimous, that this is what we want to do. Not unanimous, but that this is the direction y'all want to go. I think that one of the commissioners coming and speaking about this would be nice. Would you agree with that, Shamil?
Or either we can report on it on Tuesday night that y'all, there's a group that's going to form a nonprofit, Friends of, whether you call yourself Friends of Riverside Park or Parks, I'm kind of like Mr. Keelan. It's a separate entity. So, but I guess the report would be that the Parks Commission has decided to, the fundraiser arm will go to the nonprofit, and the commission in its entirety will not be raising funds for the dog park, but the dog park still, there's a group that's still going to raise money for the dog park. I guess that's kind of how the report would be.
Is the money that's been given, once it's in the city's hands, can it go over to the nonprofit, or that can't happen?
I'd have to check on that, but I doubt it. I doubt it. But if it's designated for the dog park, then probably what would happen is at the time that you got ready to spend money on the dog park, then that money would be given, to the project.
All wind up in the same place.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But once again, there's nothing stopping anybody right now from making a donation.
That's correct.
Okay, so you want to just you guys want to just inform the city council what we have, the direction that we've chosen, and
Be glad to.
Sure, I mean, we,
Yeah.
we can do.
Not a problem at all.
Be okay with me if you just want to kind of characterize it as the sense of the commission was to pursue the formation of a 501c3, the details of which are not going to be worked out by the commission, but by the people who wind up wanting to work on the 501c3. And it will be something that will be of benefit to the city. I mean, I think it'll.
Absolutely. And, some of the conversation, I know Mr. Keeling knows this too, the bylaws at the 501c will designate what the purpose of the
Sure. The
nonprofit is.
and the
And so
application for the.
that's kind of where, I know some of the questions that were asked, that's where it'll be resolved with that board that establishes it.
But it's clear that raising money to contribute to something like the Parks Commission of a city or the Parks Department of a city is a charitable purpose that's going to get a tax exempt designation easily. It's not going to be really very complicated to do that.
So do we need to have everybody comfortable with this recommendation? Yeah?
I am.
All right. Anybody interested in participating on this group? I knew Gail would be in there for sure.
now, you don't have to name names, but do you still have some outside folks who are?
I think I have some people who would want to come on board and work with this deal too, but
Okay.
it's definitely open to all parks commissioners and
Sure.
everybody, and who would like to come and participate and help out and raise money for park projects.
I'm
Need a
going
name.
off the
We need a
commission,
good
so
name.
I'll help. Jamie, I'll help you. I'm going off the
Thank you,
commission.
thank you. Lee, you on board?
Sure. I'll do the legal work. So.
Well, terrific.
Right.
Well, great. We'll have to get together, I guess, probably right after the council meeting, where our, the next council meeting is. Well, I know it's summers, people got kids and family vacations and things, but I would like to try to, I'll let Lee sort of set a timeline on that. He's got he's kind of our legal eagle, will be our legal eagle on this project, so. But there was something else I was wanting to say, and I can't remember what it was. It was something along the lines of, heck, it'll probably come to me later. Oh, I remember. You said I rotate off in September?
Yes.
I thought it was next year.
No, you're termed.
So I okay, so I'm, I'm going to stir up some trouble and leave. Yeah. Okay, well, that snuck up on me.
And then Mark is the third person, right?
Yes, Mark is eligible for reappointment.
All right, he's, done 3. Okay.
Yeah, but definitely, let's get together and we'll go.
It works out perfectly.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? For what?
You can be chairman of this thing.
Chairman?
Yeah.
Chairman.
He said you.
But no, we definitely, and like I said, we always say, hey, let's get together, hey, let's get together. It's like when you run into somebody you haven't seen in a long time, hey, let's get together. But we're definitely going to be contacting everybody on the commission to let them know when we're going to have a kind of a formation meeting. And then from that, I will let Lee handle the particulars of details on that. We'll have to set, like he said, 3 directors.
I need three people to be on the initial board of directors. That doesn't mean that it always has to be 3 people, but initially we need at least 3 to start, and we need a name.
Executive director, treasurer, and secretary, is that what you need?
No, board members.
Board members.
But will we end up having I guess, finding someone who will be treasurer, who will be secretary?
Yeah,
Because
we'll
we
have,
need
I
all
mean, you
those
can,
positions.
find the people to do all that later, or you can do it right now. But if you, to go ahead and get it formed and get the application done in front of the IRS, which is what you want to do, we really need a name and 3 people to serve as initial members of the board, and then we can kind of outline the plan that we're going to pursue, which is, or I mean, I think we already know what that is for purposes of the tax exemption application. We know what the purpose is going to be for.
Do we want to discuss this now or at a?
No, I don't think, I mean, I think the
Separate
thing to
get-together.
do is for, I mean, I just don't, in my mind, it's not a commission issue. It's
That's right.
some members of the commission are going to get together.
It could be
Put
3
this
people
to-
that are not on this
Right,
commission.
that's correct.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And they need to, once we have that, then they need to figure out how to go forward.
So, what type of time frame should, I know here I am talking about, hey, this is not commission business anymore.
That's right. Let's go.
We will be contacting you, commission members about, when we plan to get together, so.
That sounds like a
Thank
plan.
you. Thank you for the report.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, commissioners.
I have nothing else on the agenda. Last chance for anyone else.
Move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We're done. Thank you.
So